Good morning. Oh, is this on? Yes, it is. Good morning. Welcome back to the stream. Today is Saturday, May 24th, and getting an early start today. I meant to start around 10 o'clock, and it's Saturday morning. I had to push that back to 10:30, and even then I'm almost 10 minutes late. But that's okay. We're going to go ahead and get started. So last weekend, we spent the weekend working on our ocean. What's it called? Well, we're just calling it the ocean. This is a mock-up that I bought from Envato Theme Forest like 9 years ago. And we've been building this out for many, many weeks now. But we're making some headway. Let me pull up our mock-up so we can take a look. I decided to start early today because I wanted to carve out more time to really, I just wanted to carve out a bigger chunk of time, and that to me that was easier to do if I got an earlier start. So that's what we're doing here. Hang on, I can't, it's difficult for me to talk and think at the same time. So let me just pull up our mock-ups. All right, here we go. So these are Photoshop mockups, and please forgive me if you've already been here and heard this, but if you're, this is for the folks that might be new. I have a collection of Photoshop mockups that I've had for years. These are left over from my freelancing days. And these were a great source of inspiration. So if you're a freelancer, if you're like me and you're, a front-end developer, but you're really not a designer, and you struggle to come up with ideas for layouts and, just the designy UI type things, I would suggest heading over to a place like ThemeForest or Envato. I know there are lots of marketplaces. That was the big one, 10 years ago when I was doing that. And just buy some inexpensive Photoshop files. And then you can kind of pick and choose your layouts as you're building things for clients. It worked beautifully for me. It was just such a great solution for me. But I haven't I haven't even made a dent in these. So that's the purpose of the streams. So this is the home page of Ocean. And we've already built this. And the great thing about building, like when you start with a home page and build it out, you're literally building like 50% of your website, because you're defining the layout, defining styles that will be used throughout the site, and you're building your header and footer, which appear on every page. So building inner pages should hopefully be a lot more straightforward. So this is our home page. This is the masonry page, which we actually have to fix something on this page. So at this view, it looks great. And honestly, this turned out great. I love masonry layouts. Like, love, love, love masonry layouts. I have been such a fan of that for a long time. And I'm going to I'm going to record and edit a tutorial on how I build masonry layouts, because I have finally, it's not like I spent every waking moment trying to figure it out, but I did spend a fair amount of time trying to really come up with a great way to build masonry layouts, and I love what I came up with, and I really want to share that. So I'm planning to record a tutorial on how I do that this week, so stay tuned for that. But this just turned out beautifully. I love it so, so much. And I'll give you a sneak peek. Please allow me to just digress for a moment. We, right around New Year's, I did several live streams working on a website for myself, which I'm almost done with. But I implemented a page with masonry on a website that I'm building for myself. And my God, it could not have turned out better. I mean, I am so happy with it. And then I also put in, just with some vanilla JavaScript, a filter. I mean, it just looks spectacular. Just looks spectacular. Have some nice animations. Oh, just beautiful. This is why I love front end. This is the reason why. Love, love, love. So, okay. I have I'm almost done with this site. I should be done with this, like it's the end of May. It's May 24th. I should be done with this in June and getting this launched into production. But yeah, for now, it just looks so beautiful. I'm really happy with it. And I was so pleased that I came up with a content strategy that worked well with the masonry layout. So I was really, really happy about that. Go, Elmo, go. Very smooth. I like it. Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to do it. Like I said, I'm going to do a tutorial this week. I'm going to record it this weekend. Maybe I'll have time to do it this afternoon. Talking about how the way I like to build masonry layouts. Let me zoom out a little bit though. We do have something we need to fix here. So you can see here that this image is not filling the container. So we're going to go ahead and fix that. And this is, I'm going to call this a bug that is left over from when we did our CSS refactoring a couple of weeks ago. So this is easy to fix. We'll go ahead and take care of this. But basically we have a home page, we have a masonry page, excuse me, and we have our blog page, which is what we've been, we really dug into this last weekend. We need to finish styling all the content in our, well, did we finish? I think we finished all the content inside of our kitchen sink, but we need to we need to fix some things in this table. So last week, excuse me, hang on, I'm going to get a sip of water. Okay. And we have another guest. Thank you, Paula Ramsey. Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us. So last week we built this table, and I really love building responsive, accessible tables. So this is kind of a big deal to me. But full disclosure, I hadn't done it in a while. So I made some mistakes, and we're going to correct those mistakes today. I don't think we also may want to restyle the block quotes because after the fact, I found some block quote styles right here that I didn't notice last week. I don't know if this is really critical though. I don't know. I'm more concerned about making sure the table has the correct markup, which right now it doesn't. Other than that, we did get all of the kitchen sink HTML styled. This is pretty much ready to go. I would call this like a little meta section right here. So this is ready to go. What this doesn't have is there should be a border here in between 12 comments and tagged. Yeah, and it looks like a double border. So let's get that in. Monique is here. She says, good to see you and glad to catch a live session. Monique, I'm so happy to see you. Obviously, listen, nobody is obligated to join the live, but I do think it makes me just feel so good when I see consistent faces. So go Elmo, go. You've been somebody who has been consistently joining me, and I just so appreciate that. Monique, I haven't seen you in a couple of weeks. I also took a break for several weeks to deal with some personal business, but honestly, just in general, I think that it goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyways, that people who take the time to join and put messages in the chat, you all just make me feel so good. So thank you very much for your support. I just love having you guys here. I love it when you ask questions. I love it when you just say hello. I just really appreciate all the people who join me. So, okay, Angela, stop being a goofball. Let's get back to work. Okay, so we need to, oh, that was the wrong, hang on here. That was the wrong screen. Okay, here we go. So we just need to, this isn't a huge change right here, but we just need to add this double border in between comments and tagged. And I actually kind of think I might have missed that because these are basically styles that are a holdover from the home page. So we'll go ahead and get that added in today. So we just have a couple bugs. So let's start with this masonry bug, which, let me see if I can I'm going to pop this out, make it easier to see. Here we go. So I think you can see there the container, the figure. I don't want you to zoom. I just want, telling you, dev problems. Okay. So you can see here that the figure is much bigger, and here's the image. And right now this is static, but we have styles to fit that container, so let's go find that. Where are you? Not you, right there in the middle. Okay, so where is our masonry CSS? It's this right here. It's the featured. Was that how I did that? I mean, I guess I wanted the image to be its normal aspect ratio. Am I looking at the wrong class here? Hang on. I am going to stick this back in here. You can really see it there. So the screen needs to be pretty wide before you see it. So it's masonry image only. Masonry image only is the class. Right here. And then this is the heading that is absolutely positioned inside the container right there. So this would be the mobile style. I wonder if it's always been like this and I just didn't notice. That would be strange because I only noticed it after we refactored our CSS, which means there must have been other styles controlling this, and then refactoring the CSS. Those styles didn't work anymore. So That's okay. So we just need to get it snug in its container. So the way we do that is, and I have to pop this out again. So the way we do that, so here's our container. Here's our image. I think all we need to do is say object fit. I guess contain. Well, contain's not going to give me what I want. I'm going to have to do cover. I don't think that's going to give me what I want either. I just wanted it to flow naturally. But I guess the image, yeah, it's 1024 by 684. So I am going to have to position this in here. What's important is that these other images, I think the reason I did that is because the whole reason we do a masonry layout is to make sure that we can organize images without constraining or changing the aspect ratio, right? Like I have these all in here to just be whatever the natural aspect ratio is, whether it's landscape or portrait. But I think for this over here to work correctly, I do, but why can't I get it to do object fit or object? I should be able to do that. I've literally never done object fit or object position without absolutely positioning the image because I'm always trying to control the aspect ratio, but now I'm not. Okay, let's look at MDN. Object fit. Object fit sets how the content of a replaced element, such as an image or a video, should be resized to fit its container. The replaced, so I usually use cover. The replaced content is sized to maintain its aspect ratio while filling the element's entire content box. If the object's aspect ratio does not match the aspect ratio of the box, then the object will be clipped to fit. So what I want to know is, will it still cover even if the object is smaller than the box? That's what I want to know. You know who's going to be able to answer that question for us? Your friend and mine, ChatGPT. So let's just start asking questions. That's what it's here for. Okay. When I use object fit cover, will the object, in this case, an image, cover the container even if it's smaller than the container? Will it still fit the entire container? When you use object fit cover, the image will always cover the entire container, but it does not mean the entire image will be visible. Instead, the image will scale up. Okay. If the image is smaller than the container, it will scale up to fill the container. If the image is larger, it will scale down. In all cases, okay. Object fit cover. Is it just me or it didn't fit? Oh, wait a second. Haha. Image only. That's why we were missing a class. Wait a second. Oh no, we do. We have a class, image underscore only, and then image on the figure, and then the image. Image only. And is it inside the masonry? Yes. This is the figure, not the image. Okay, well, at least I'm not insane. Okay, so we want image, object fit cover. So, okay, so now we have our classes right. Display block. Maybe it needs to be, there we go. So we just needed with 100% object fit cover. Now we're scaling up. Good. Good, good. So now we're filling the container, we're scaling up, and we're proportional with object fit cover. Okay, so we'll just do width. We have max width 100%. That is not the same as width 100% though. It's not the same because the size of the image, the browser even tells us the intrinsic size is 1024 by 684. So max width 100% is the same as saying max width 1024. But width 100% says fill the container, baby. Just fill the container. So there we go. Okay, good. You know, it's a little thing. It's a little thing. I like to understand what's going on. That's the point of this. I just like to understand what's going on. Okay, so now we fixed our masonry. Love it. Beautiful. Beautiful. Gorgeous. Just gorgeous. Okay. So now let's just go back to the home page and fix this. This needs a double border. So we've got our blog comment count, blog tagged items. I think the best way to handle this is to just, we could just do like an after pseudo class on blog comment count. So this is flex, space between. You know what I kind of want to do though? I just want to stick an empty div in here and not use the pseudo class. Because I just know that using a pseudo class, I'm not going to get the spacing in the, I'm going to have to, if I use a pseudo class, I can get the correct height that I want on that double border, but I'm not going to get it spaced evenly in between those containers. In order to do that, I have to do that with margin and padding, which is totally fine. It is a totally fine way to do it. However, because I have Flexbox on this container, if I just put an empty div in here, something that has no semantic value, it is not impacted by screen readers, it's easy to hide or show based on the view, mobile or desktop, I can very easily get the spacing that I like without needing to fuss with margin and padding. So that's what I'm going to do. That's what we're, okay, but that means then that I always have to include that. That's fine because that's fine. This is a static website. So if somebody built this for a CMS or even just built this out using PHP and chunked it out into PHP includes, that's completely fine. That is completely fine to do it that way. So, okay, so let's go back to, we're done with masonry. Let's go back to our home page, which is right here. And I think we only have this in 2 places so far. We have it in one place on the home page, and we have it in one place on the blog page. And then I know we'll have it on the blog slider page, which we haven't, I mean, technically I made a copy of this, but I will recopy the home page for that. So I think that's fine. Okay, so we're looking for the class blog links. Right here. So here's the comments, here's the tagged items. So I'm just going to say div class DBL border blog DBL border. Nice and semantic. What is it? It's the blog double border. Okay, so let's do, I think those styles are in main. Yes. So where's our blog links? Okay, blog links. Where's the comments? Blog comment count, blog tagged items, blog double border. Always nice to get everything kind of laid out in its natural order. Keeps it organized, keeps it tidy, keeps it easy to find. So we want this to be, I'm going to say width 0. Height, what is the height roughly of this? Well, I guess we could just do height 100%. I don't know if that's going to work. We'll see. And then we'll say border left 1 pixel, 1 pixel double. Yep, double. And then what's the color? Gray. And then that should align. I don't know, we'll see. Where are you? I don't even see you. Blog double border. You're not really there, are you? We are going to have to give you a little width. Auto. I don't see you at all. And you have no height. So, okay, so let's just do height. 25 pixels. Okay, there's something. There's something. There we go. So and why aren't you just, oh, I do have a width on everything. What happens if we just take the width off of everything? What does it do naturally? Actually, that looks amazing. That looks great. I love it when I can just take the width off of things and have things line up organically. That to me is so perfect. Look at that. Beautiful. That's what we're going to do. We're going to take the width off of everything because Flexbox does such a beautiful job of just giving everything, Angela, use your words, just letting everything organically space out. And if I don't have to put a width on things, I don't. That's awesome. That's great. Then these sections grow and shrink organically, and you don't have to define a width. So I'm totally good with that. I mean, I think technically we could do like a flex, like a flex 00 auto or something like that. But I'm not going to. Okay, so width, what do we say? 35 pixels, border left 5. I'm going to take the width off of that, take the width off of that, take the width off of that. Is that everything? 1, 2, 3. I love it. And then all I want to do is hide this on mobile and maybe make it a little taller. $45. And you know what else I'm going to do? I need to close the window because they're mowing the lawn. So I will be right back. Okay. So let's just hide this. What is my breakpoint? $9.60, I bet. Yep. Just give it a display block. Actually, I think I have this backwards. I think this is none. I think this is block. And then I'm going to take these out. Did I get that backwards? Yes, I did. Max width means this is mobile. Got it. Sometimes I go back and forth depending on the project I'm working on between max width and min width, and I just forget. That looks great. Love it. So let's add blog double border to our other page, and we may need these styles over on that other page. I think we can take some of this out. Don't think we need this. And we do have the blog layout class here, so there it is. Nice. I like it. Look at that. Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay. So Go Elmo Go is saying, if you could change one thing about the front end development process, what would it be? Like something that you feel could be easier or improved in some ways. The process. Okay, so let's define process. I might have a different definition of process than you do. To me, process is requirements gathering. It's defining the scope. It's project planning, like writing, like maybe, I mean, I don't write user stories for every project that I work on. I don't need to do, generally, I don't need to be involved in that much planning unless it's something I'm doing from scratch. Usually, process for me is like requirements gathering, project planning, estimating my time for how long I think something is going to take to get done. So that's more of like the zoomed out. That's more of a zoomed out idea of process. Once we start to zoom in a little bit, process could mean like the DevOps process. So maybe we're talking about the process of developing locally, pushing to your development environment, getting approval or doing your QA testing, and then working out the details for how you're going to push to production. So that also to me is process. I would say that that's the part I find the most challenging, not because it's not easy to define a process. I think that it's easy is not the right word, but with thoughtful planning, it's not that difficult to define a process for deployment. What gets difficult is getting your team on board or getting your stakeholders on board. So and then also it's estimating time. I could tell a client, well, this will take me 2 days, but then it takes 3 or 4 days, but we've already said 2 days, and we've already said that on days 3, it's going to be QA'd, and on days 4, it's going to be deployed to production, and all of that timing is sorted out, but it actually took me 3 days, not 2 days to get the work done. So I don't have a good answer for that. It's just something that I deal with a lot. If you're talking about just actual, you are saying here, I agree, the whole process from conception to full creation is what I meant. So from conception, it really depends on who you're working with. If you're working with really good project managers or maybe a program product manager or whatnot, um, the requirements gathering should be straightforward. I tend to work with the same people over and over again, and we've been working together for a long time. So they are very, very good at requirements gathering, and they are very good at letting me ask questions to get the information that I need in order to do something. So whether that's access to an API and an API key, or pointing things out that I know that they didn't think of in the functionality, those things tend to go well. Even if it's somebody I haven't worked with, I just have enough experience at this point that I'm very good at noticing things and asking the right questions, because I've just been in so many positions where I didn't ask the right questions. I know what to look for now. So that part I like. I think the deployment process tends to be the most complicated, because it 9 times out of 10 it just relies on the other people on the team. So if I okay, if I know that there's somebody on the team that, how shall I put this, isn't very good at their job, it's hard to work with them because we're both pushing and pulling to the same development repository, and there can be merge conflicts, and there can be a lot of confusion over the QA process and deploying to a production environment. So it's not that those things are particularly difficult. It's just that sometimes it can be difficult to work with other people on the team in order to get those things done. And a lot of it just has to do with QA and everybody on the team being on the same page with what steps are being taken next. So that's the part of front-end development that I find to be the most challenging. And I don't think it's specific to front-end development. I think that's just development, because you can have the best deployment process, but if you don't have good communication among your team, and it's not even that the communication that's bad, it's just that sometimes there are people on the team who are sloppy or they're not very good at their jobs. It's just a fact of life that you will work with people who are not detail oriented and not paying attention to the details that you need them paying attention to. So that's what I tend to run into the most, or that I find the most frustrating. So when I have people on the team that are like getting the QA done quickly, giving me feedback really quickly, and we're all on the same page about the process that we're using to deploy to a production environment, that's when things go, I love that. That's when things go well. As far as the work itself, like if we're just talking about compilers or tech stacks, I'm hard pressed to tell you something that could be easier or improved. I mean, are there things in CSS that could maybe be different? I mean, I guess, but I've been doing it for such a long time now that I've adapted. I hope that people who watch my stream see that if something doesn't work, I'm pretty good at adapting and figuring out either why it doesn't work or what I need to do to get it to work. That is the most, in my opinion, the most important part of being a developer, is just being adaptable and being able to problem solve. Spend a few minutes, spend as much time, I guess, as you need to spend trying to get something to work, but also give yourself permission to stop and find a new solution. So that's actually the part that I love, even though it can be really frustrating. That was a tangent, so I hope that answers your question. So I guess my final answer is deployment tends to be the most challenging part for me, just because it's not all about me. I almost always need to make sure that something is being QA'd and approved. And if you have ever deployed to a big production website, you know that there are lots of factors in how you keep your production environment safe in order to deploy. And that can just be tricky sometimes if you don't have everybody on the same page. So that's a big, long answer. That is a big, long answer. So I hope it helps. I hope it helps. Okay. So let's fix our table now. And I have an example of how a table is supposed to look. So let's take a look at this. I built this a couple years ago. And I built this with, makes sense, cooperation is a big part of it. Yeah, I would just say good communication, really good communication on the team when it comes to deployment. And you are kind of relying on the fact that people are paying attention. They're good at their jobs, which is not always the case. Okay. So this is a table that I built a couple years ago, and I used the API, I think it's just called JSON placeholder. Yeah, JSON placeholder is what I used to build this. But so here's our markup. I have a table head and a table body. Here's the table head inside a table row. And then these are all of the THs, the table headers. They are scoped as columns. And that's for screen readers and search engine optimization, certainly, but mostly for the benefit of a screen reader. So the screen reader knows that this is a column. And we've got name, username, email address, phone. And then in the body, here's our table rows. And then here is our data labels. And what I didn't do last week, because I forgot, I just plain forgot, is every item inside the row has to have a data label, and it's identical to the order of the THs in the head. And you can see here how this looks styled. So this top row kind of serves as a header, and then every item has a label, basically. So we just need to go ahead and fix this because I didn't do that last week. I couldn't remember how to do it. So here is our header. So we've got, and you know what doesn't help is the data in this table makes no sense. It's just gibberish. So I was having a hard time with this because it just made no sense to me. What's a header and what is just a regular item? So let's go back into our markup. Where are we here? Here it is. Nope. Where is our table? Oh, it's collapsed. Okay. So here it is. So really, let's do this. I probably should have redone all the data in this table to actually make sense and not just look like gibberish. Okay. And then we also have a footer, which we'll have to account for that too. So, okay. So now let's just copy these and we can paste them in. So now we'll just come down here like this. do the same thing in the footer. Okay, so now we have a data label on all of these things. Perfect. So now we need to, and we also we could do some odd even here too on these rows. Okay. So let's find our CSS for the table. And here's where we do our odd even. Here's our media query. I did just one big media query at the end of the page. And here's where we add the before data attribute. And right now this is only on the TH. So I think we can do THTD. And we'll see if that adds it. That added it. So we just have to adjust some styles now. But you can see here now where we have a heading over every one, and that's what we want. So we hide on mobile in a very screen reader friendly way with some CSS. We hide the header, and then we use a data label, which is just a made up attribute that we insert into the page using CSS. And anytime you put content on a page using CSS, it is not accessible by a screen reader. So this is purely for visual purposes. This is purely for mobile styles. If a screen reader came through and read this, because we have our columns and our rows scoped correctly, the screen reader is still going to read this exactly the same way as if it appeared this way. So it's really a great way to style tables. And I would challenge you, if you see a table out in the wild, check to see if it's responsive. Check to, this isn't, I mean, I think there are other ways to do this. This is the way that I found to do it that I love. But I challenge you to find another table that is responsive and accessible. It's not difficult to do, but it does require a little bit of elbow grease. And once you figure it out, it's just a beautiful way. It's just a beautiful way to make a table. So, okay. So really, I just want the TH to have these styles. So I'm going to take this out. And let's do, and we do have here a TR. So let's make a copy of this. It's hard to tell. No, I'm not seeing. So, oh wait, TD, not TR. Wrong attribute. Whoops. So we want THTD. Okay, there we go. So we still have to do a little styling here. So we're going to take out the background color of black. And yes, it can be display block. I'm going to put, just going to put a semicolon there as content. Is it going to let me do that? I think so. There's space. Hang on. Well, let me do that. And we don't need a special color, but I do want it to be display block and sit above. Yeah, perfect. So we'll use this one as an example. So here's our before. The TD has padding. We can take that off. That was specific to the first one. I think I'm going to change the styles for this too. Yeah, I kind of want it to look like this, where the first one is all on the same line, and then these can be display block. So here's the the TH, excuse me. So display inline block. So we can still have some padding and margin. Let's see how that looks. And I think this div right here, we might not need this. Display inline block. Yeah, that works. And no, I don't think we need the div. And I think this can be on the entire element. Oof, hang on. Sorry about that. Had a sneeze. Okay. There we go. Just need to adjust some padding. I don't think we need this padding and margin. And then let's do that. Perfect. And then I think we can add this back in. Beautiful. I love it. I put everything in a div, or I put the first thing in a div last week because, like I said, I forgot. How easily can I get rid of these? I don't need this. Perfect. And then is that giving, it's not giving me any space there, is it? That's fine. I think we can just do margin right. I'll say 5 pixels. Perfect. And then the rest of these, think we just have to fix our margin, and we can take margin and padding off of the before pseudo element, but it can still be on top. And we know this doesn't work, but I don't think we need that. Beautiful. I mean, we could put everything on the same line. This is the point, though. This is what I was getting at. So we could, let's make it uppercase and change the color. So we'll do text transform, uppercase. We'll give it a little letter spacing of a pixel, and then we'll change the color. Where is our variables? We don't have very good colors, do we? We don't really have any colors. Oh, wrong one. I want it here. There we go. I mean, I don't think people are going to think this is a link. I love it. And then let's make that header also text transform. There. That is what I wanted. So now we see clear sections. We see a clear section, and the sections are the rows. The sections are the rows. So it's HTML living odds charged heads felt. HTML living odds charged heads felt. So, and then each item in the row or section has a header. All of this is done with CSS. All of this is done with CSS. I love it. So now let's do an alternating background. And the alternating background is on these TDs. So it would be starting with the TD, we would do odd, starting with the second one. TD, and we'll say nth of type, whoops, nth of type, or even, starting with the second one. And background color, I think it was just light gray. TD. Why aren't you working? Nth of type, even. Nth of type, even on the TR. So for desktop, it was on the entire row. Now we're doing it on the TD, nth of type, even, background color, light gray. Here it's off. table. I don't even see my style here, so I got something wrong. Oh, it's inside the before. That's why. There we go. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Oh, you know what else? Yeah, the other thing, I'm just remembering this now. The other thing that we got wrong, that I got wrong, is this pre-formatted text right here, the pre-tag. So I changed this to wrap, and we don't want that. We want this to be able to scroll inside its container. So let's see if we can do this right here in the browser. So we do want this to be normal. No, I don't, that's wrong, not normal. We want it to be no wrap. And then we want it to be, hang on, overflow on the x-axis. We want the overflow to be hidden. And we want this little container to be able to scroll. But hang on, I think this is wrong. Scroll, duh. So it's hidden and this scrolls. There we go. So let's change this, and then let's put in like a little code snippet so we can actually see an example of that. Because the whole point of this, if this was a code block, which is what pre-formatted text is usually for, it's usually because we put in some code snippets, and we generally don't want those to wrap. We want this to be a little scrollable container that we can copy and paste from. So let's find our pre, and I think we put that in, I think we had some toolkit styles here. Yes. So we want this to be no wrap. And we want overflow X to be scroll. And then let's just take some code snippets and poop it in there. Right here. I don't know, pre-formatted text is a little bit weird, but let's see how this looks. Oh, it's, yeah, pre-formatted text is weird. Okay. Stop. Oh my gosh. So it's putting everything, that's because we did no wrap. So that might not be the best way to do it. Normal, break spaces. Yeah, break spaces. No, that's not right. Pre-wrap. I don't think that's right either. Inherit, initial, revert layer, unset. We don't want normal. Break spaces, no wrap, pre. That looks right. Yeah, that's actually perfect. That's exactly what we have here. So this is a case where HTML is paying attention to these spaces, which I think is pretty interesting. So if we put this over here, oh, and I didn't change it. There we go. And the browser by default will not give you syntax highlighting. You won't have any syntax highlighting. However, if that's something that you want to add to your site, there is a library called Prism. This is pretty old. It's been around for a long time, but it's just a script that you can add. You can specify your languages, and you can do some pre-formatted text with syntax highlighting. But if you're just styling a website kind of like this, and this is okay with you, I think you can still do quite a bit with CSS and pre-formatted text for syntax highlighting. So this still works. This little container now is responsive, but you maintain everything that's going on inside of this little code block here. So I love it. I love it. There's some caveats with HTML though. Let's look at what those are. I think that would be a good thing to point out. So let's say that I wanted to just put a code block. Let's say I just wanted to put a code block for this image inside of here. I think it converts some things here, but let's see. I think it's going to try to actually show this image. And there's a way around that. There's a way that you deal. Yeah, so it's actually showing the image. So what we do is for these greater than and less than signs, we do and, I think that's and GT, and then nope, less than, and LT. So that's the less than sign. And then this is and GT. That's the greater than sign. So now that will render as HTML pre-formatted text and not actually render the image. There we go. So that is a caveat if you've never run into this before. That is how you handle HTML. You just put in the and LT semicolon and JT semicolon, GT for greater than, less than. And that is how you deal with pre-formatted text. I love it. Okay. Well, we're an hour and 14 minutes in, and we've fixed all of our mistakes from last week. So it's a good thing that I set aside extra time to work on this today. And I don't care about the block quotes. I'm not going back and touching that. All right. So next, what's next on our... So next is our author box, which is right here. Here is the author box. So we have an image on the left and we have a content box on the right. So let's get a little bit organized. I don't think I need this. I don't need this. And also, let's commit. Let's commit. Since we're starting something new, let's go ahead and do a commit. Fixing our bugs from last weekend and improving the styles. All right. And now we have a clean workspace. Close these. All right. So here is our blog CSS. Here's our markup. Here's our author box. I just want to see. So we don't have a class on the body. Here's the blog layout container. This is the other thing that I was thinking about last week. So here's the article with the blog item. If we look at the mock-up, they have everything very clearly in this column. But if we look at our page, I was kind of wondering if we should put everything outside of these containers so the author box could span, but this is pretty wide. So I'm going to stay true to the mock-up. So, and we can use, we're in the section blog layout, so we can use that as our parent, as our parent class. So author box. And I guess we want to do display flex. And we did make a little kind of a homegrown set of mix-ins for Flexbox. I haven't been using them. I mean, I have, but I haven't. So we could do container as a class. Yeah, we'll do container as a class. And then I'm going to do my own flex item sizes. So we'll say container. Which means I don't need this. And I am going to use author box as the parent after all. Image. Box. Include flex item. Can't even remember how I did it. Okay. And I would say that this is what? 15%, 20%, we'll give it 20%. And then we have the author box content. And I'll just give this an 80%, and it's going to need some padding. But yeah, that's fine. Well, not quite. It's still not aligned, is it? Oh. There we go. Just need to make sure it's lined up. So now for our image. So the image is on the article. So I'm going to say, we'll say with the 100% aspect ratio, I want to be a square. So I'm going to say 1 by 1. And we really should do position relative, because I'm going to absolutely position the image. And then I'm going to say for the image, position absolute. And then we'll say inset 0. Whoops. And then we have to say width 100%, height 100%, and then object fit is cover, and then we'll say border radius 50%, and then the overflow is hidden, so we don't see those corners of the image peek out. Oh, and we should not have done 100% because we already have a width. I forgot. There we go. I think this is a little bit bigger, but that is fine. I'm just going to give the author box a little bit of padding, and then let's change the alignment. So let's do this. Author box, blog layout. So we're just going to change the align item. See, this is why I thought this was such a good idea when I started this project, to just sort of make a little mini like homegrown framework. The problem is that I am often, the things that are consistent are display flex. That's it. The things that are consistent are display flex. These other things, depending on the layout, change nearly every time. Justify content, align items, and flex flow. That is just not consistent, and for that reason, I don't love this. I would just as soon type these things in for each thing that I'm styling, but it is what it is. It's completely fine. So we're just going to sort of override this. We're going to say align items center. So we get it centered along that y-axis. There, you can see there. Now that's centered in the middle. And we still have a lot of margin on this. Say margin 0. And then I'm going to add here, I'm just going to add some padding on the left. We'll just do a rem. There. So here's our author box. Oh, we could do a little more padding there. And now you can really see that that is aligned pretty well. What's going on here? I'm going to take the margin off the top of the tertiary heading. And I'm just going to say margin top. Oops. There. Now that's a little better aligned. Oh, it did come off. Why not? Did I spell something wrong again? I seem to be spelling everything wrong. Yes. Tertiary. And I'm going to take the margin off of this paragraph tag. Can I put this in here? Okay, do I finally trust my eye? There, finally, it's aligned. And that has margin at the bottom of the article. I don't have margin on the top or bottom of this. That has a margin bottom of 3 rems. So let's put a margin bottom of 3 rems here as well. And then we'll make it responsive. So we want the author box to have a margin bottom 3 rems. There we go. So the article, that. Okay, now we're on to related posts. Author, oh, no, it's not responsive yet. So, oh, just the jumpiness of this page is starting to get to me. But it is what it is. Oh, okay, good thing we're looking at mobile. This does not look right. Yeah, okay, I took the margin off. And so clearly I took this margin, I did margin bottom for mobile, but I know that I did this for the home page and that's not what I want for this page. Is this full width class specific to this article? I can't remember. Let's look. It is not. So I can't use that class. So let's put a class on this section. Or we could just put a class on the body. I mean, that's normally what we do. That's what I did for the masonry page. I just put a class on the body that said masonry. So let's just put a class on the body that says blog. That's a pretty normal way to handle layouts. So you have some specificity for the same item on different pages when you need to just do something, an adjustment. So let's just give this a class of blog on the body. That's going to give us a little more specificity. We could even change this to just be blog. And that would probably do the trick. No. Why? Oh, I still have to change blog layout. So what is this? This is the blog item inside the blog layout. So we're going to do blog item blog margin bottom 3 rows. There we go. Okay, this feels like a clean way to handle this, so I'm good with this. Okay. Responsive. Angela, responsive. Don't forget. So, how long does this hold up for? Maybe I mean, what we should probably do is just give this image, oh, and that is spelled wrong. So instead of 20%, which is, we should just give this a pixel value. (178 by 178). So we'll just say 175 pixels. And then we should say flex flow row no wrap. See? Do you see how I have to always change this? Now that wraps just like that. Holds up pretty well. Depending on how much content is in that author box, I'm thinking it would hold up pretty well to about 600, a breakpoint of 600. So we'll say so we'll just go ahead and say at media, max width, 600 pixels, and we will change this to be maybe I don't know, 80%. And then we'll just do good old margin 0 auto. That centers that item. And then we could do the content, media, max width. We'll go ahead and make this 100%. And then we'll remove that padding. I'll just say padding 0. Oh, and I think we have to change this to media max width. I could say flex flow. I think we could just change the flex direction to column. And then let's give this a little margin on the bottom. So we could just do maybe 2. Yeah, 1. Just eyeball it. It's okay. I don't know, do we need to center this title? Maybe. I do think it can be a bit tiresome to just center justify everything for mobile, but it kind of does work. So it's not the end of the world. This feels a bit big to me. But I think it's fine. And you know, I tend to use as breakpoints, I tend to use 960, which is, let me see here. So an iPad is generally, let me see here. I do have a method for why I do this. Okay. So here's an iPad. Here's my iPad. So this is generally an iPad is 1024. I don't think that's the exact dimensions anymore. 1024, 1024 pixels wide by 768 pixels tall. And this is landscape, but this is portrait. So then this is 768 by 1024. And I think that a good halfway point is 960. So you would still get the desktop view in iPad landscape, but you would get mobile view in iPad portrait. So 960 is a good kind of halfway point. That doesn't mean that you have to use the same breakpoint for every single thing. It's okay to sort of, oh, I'm not showing my screen. It's okay in your browser to test and see, well, what is the breakpoint? Where do I need this to be? Where do I need this to land? So if we were looking at this on an iPad, so here's portrait, here's landscape. Now this navigation does go into mobile clearly much sooner. We should check that because I feel like our navigation would hold up at this width, so we might want to check that. And we're seeing our table at this size too. What are some of our breakpoints? Haven't I been using 960 for everything? So I would still expect to see, well, would I though? Would I expect to see this layout? What's my table? What did I do for the table? I don't remember. I put everything in, yeah, max width 960. I would still expect to see, it says 1180 by 820. Why is this in mobile? $1366 by 1024. Huh, that I'm confused. So here's my table. Here's the browser. Yeah, see, this is going in at 960. I feel like those dimensions are wrong. So let's do this. Responsive. Now we can do our own. So here's, yeah, so there's 960. Well, let's just do 1024. There. No, 768. Okay, so this is what I expect to see for iPad. Yeah, that's what I thought. 960 is what I used. I don't know why it was showing the mobile for that breakpoint. That's not right. And we should still see both columns. There's more than enough room on an iPad to see this layout this way. Same with the table. Well, what does the actual iPad show? Yeah, good in between for other devices. That makes sense. I mean, really, your breakpoints should be whatever the layout and the design should sort of make that decision for you. You don't have to use every single breakpoint, every single device size. Pick a couple that work for you. I tend to use 960, and it kind of works in a lot of places. So here, see, I don't have my iPad set up to really share screens. So here is, you can kind of see it. Here's portrait, and then here's landscape, and you can still clearly see the desktop version. And I think most designs will be supported that way. Most designs will be supported that way. Sometimes you have to pop into responsive at 1024. Most of the time you don't have to. So I don't know why this iPad Air size isn't working. 1180. Yeah, I don't know. This is not the right size, so I don't know why that's doing that. But you get my point. You get my point. Just let the flow of the design kind of tell you what's going to work, and you shouldn't have trouble being consistent throughout your design. Don't overthink it. That's what I'm trying to say. Don't overthink your breakpoints. Okay. So now let's work on these related posts right here. So here's our Other box. Here's our related posts. It's smaller than the latest iPad, but doesn't it? iPad Air 1180 by 820. Isn't the landscape 1180? My breakpoint is 960. That's what I don't understand. Oh, maybe, is it because that's why? Oh my gosh, it was my fault. It was because I was zoomed in on the browser. Okay. Thank you. Made by Ahmad. It's smaller than the latest iPad. Thank you. Thank you for pointing that out to me. I just needed a moment. So this is what I would expect to see. And then when we flip to portrait, then it goes to mobile. So it was because I was zoomed in on the browser, which that's what happens. I was up to 125. So, okay, good. It's just nice to know I'm not insane. It's just nice to know I'm not insane. Okay, so I'm going to keep it at 100%. So now let's do our related posts. So these are mostly styled. It happens to me all the time. So glad to see I'm not the only one. Okay, so these are our related posts, which are mostly styled. We just need to flexbox these babies. So here's our table. And again, I'm going to use related posts as my parent, but I'll use blog if I need to. Basically, I guess I'm using blog if I have to override something, which is how this is starting to shake out. But for each individual, I'm going to use the parent container as the parent class. So we'll do related posts. Actually, no. Yes, because we need to flexbox this first. Is that what I did up here? I did. Related posts. Okay, so I will use, I guess I can just put, again, container. And then we want flex item with a width. Oh. Angela, get with it. And, oh, we're actually probably going to want to put this on the wrap. Yeah. Okay. So we want the container to actually be on the wrap. And then, yeah, I still don't think I need this. There we go. There we go. Now we just need to, I guess we could just do a gap. I don't use gap very often. I almost always use the width or some margin or padding, but let's use gap. See if that works. It does not. Because the width. So, yeah, I don't need to change any of the Flexbox properties, so I guess I still don't need this. So I'm going to do related item. Related posts. And I'm just going to change the width. Flex item. And I'm just going to say 32%. And that should space it out. Oh, I think these have a little more space. So maybe 31%. There we go. Oh, and Abdallah is here. Hello, how are you? You were one of my OGs from last summer. I'm doing well. How are you? I think the last time I talked to you, you were in class. You were returning to school. How is school going? I thought of you because I was looking at the product cart that we built from Front End Mentor, and there's a bug. Something's not working. So I was going to do another live stream and fix the bug. I was actually going to take all of the videos that we did to build the product cart and turn it into one big edited video, but I have to fix that bug first. So it made me think of you. So glad to see you. Glad that you are, I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing well, and I hope classes are going well for you. And of course, I'm always happy to see folks that have been here before. So, okay, so for this, we have our date and we have our title. I think we just have to adjust the size of our title and remove this border. And related posts is pretty close to being done. And I think we just have to style this header for related posts. And I don't think we need this after all. We were able to just put that container class on the wrap. And so this is an H2, a secondary header. So let's go ahead and style that. Secondary heading. These are related posts. And we'll do font size. And let's use clamp for a little bit of flexibility. So we'll try 1.1 rems, 2.5 vertical width, and then 1.1, maybe 1.5 rem for desktop. Let's see how that works. There is a mathematical way to calculate for clamp. It's too much for me. It's too much for me. I eyeball it. And then we just need to make that responsive. I think 1.1 for mobile is probably fine though. And then we switch to 2.5 and then we switch to 1.5. So I think that's a I feel like 1.5 is even a little too big. Yeah, that works. So we'll do a media query and we'll say max width. I mean, I feel like this holds up pretty well. So this is about 950. So here's 768. You know what we could do? We could make this a horizontal scroll for mobile. Should we do that? That's exciting. I just did that on the site that I'm building for myself. So let's pop over there and grab those styles and let's do that. But first, let's get rid of this border. Ooh, this is exciting. So I'm going to comment that out. We don't need that right now. And then let's just get rid of the border here. So this is an after pseudo class on the anchor element inside the secondary heading. So the best way to deal with that is we're just going to go ahead and say anchor after, and I'm just going to say display none. It's not content. We just don't want to show it. We just don't need it. Oh, that didn't work. Oh, we've got some specificity here. Secondary heading, related posts, blog layout, secondary heading after. Really? That's not specific enough? There. That. Nope, still not specific enough. Oh, it's on the H2, not the anchor. Okay. There we go. Okay. So take a look and tell me how I am doing. Did you do another product cart? Or another front-end mentor? You know, I was thinking about doing, maybe not this weekend, but I was thinking about doing, because people have asked for code reviews and I said I would do them. And of course I haven't gotten to them. I was thinking about doing a live stream of just all code reviews. So if anybody would be interested in that, I could definitely do a live where people just ahead of time send me your links, let me know what you want me to look at, and we could do it real time live stream so you guys could actually ask questions and get feedback. So if you're interested in doing that, definitely let me know. If you're watching the replay of this stream, put it down in the comments. And then reach out to me, send me a DM. I'm on Instagram or X, Twitter, whatever. If you want to send me a message and let me know, I would be happy to set that up. I just wasn't able to do, they're a lot of work. They're a lot of work to record and edit those videos. And that's not, what I learned is that that's not really how the type of edited content that I want to do. So I think live streaming code reviews is going to be a better strategy. So I'm just throwing that out there. Let me know if you'd be interested in that. Okay. So this section right here, which is clearly not done, but you can see here for mobile, this scrolls in its container. So let's go to an iPhone here. I love this. So let's go ahead and do this. And this is pretty straightforward to do. So here's our section. And then here's our heading. And then here's our wrap. So this markup is like identical to what we have. So here's our wrap, and it's a row with a no wrap. And then the parent is where we just put overflow X auto. I think that's all we have to do, and it will automatically scroll. And then what tells the user, or what signals to the user, one second here. What signals to the user that this is scrollable is that you can see the other thing peeking through here. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. Nope, that's our home page. So the parent container is right here. It's just related posts. And we'll just say blog. And the parent container is just overflow X. For the x-axis, overflow X, auto, and then for the wrap, well, we already have all those flexbox. So width 31%. What are these? Width. Max width none. And then I adjusted the width using clamp, but I think all we need is max width none on the wrap. Max width none. And then, but the width is still defined. So for this, our wrap is, oh, our wrap is not defined. Okay. So I think we could do, it's the full width of this container with 100%. And does this also need to be with 100%? Because I think it's going to shrink is the problem. Yeah, it is shrinking. So I think it needs a value that is not a percentage. So this container, how are we defining this? We're defining this as a width of 65%. So I did use percentages. So the actual width is 769.59. So we have to force it to stay open. So maybe that means then that on mobile, well, what's this? 75 rems. Okay. So if this is going to be scrollable in a container, and that happens on mobile, so that means at 960, so it can stay flexible up till 960. And then this section, got it. I know what to do. So that means then at media, max width, 960 pixels. We're going to say width, 75 rems, because that is the width we're using for the main body, the main class main. And then we're going to say max width. Is it just none or 0? I think it's just none. And then we're not going to change this. I put that in the right spot? Wrong one. Overflow X auto. And then the wrap. That goes on the wrap. Did I do wrap someplace? I've like typed out wrap and deleted it like 5 times. So now this should hold open this container, and then the parent is overflow auto. There we go. So what we might not want to do, we might want to go ahead and adjust, because if this was on, we might want to, we'll use iPhone. You can't really see that this would be scrollable. So now let's adjust this to make sure that you can see that other item once we get down to mobile. So right now it's 31%. So we could just adjust this down to, and then we're gonna have to take the, we'll have to take the, I don't know if we want this to be 25%. We should probably just adjust the space in between. But we need to take off the animations also, which is fine. So we have animations, which is a holdover from the home page, so we don't need that. So let's take off should be 3. So 1, 2, 3. And then we have this data animation. We'll take that off. And then we just have to adjust our spacing. So this looks great here, but there's too much space here. And I think the way I accounted for that here, that's why I use this clamp to change it from 75 rems to 65 rems, because these are 31.333 wide, but on 75 rems that was too wide. But I still only want it to be a third. So this is actually, so let's do this also. Let's use this clamp for the width, and that'll also sort of adjust that width. And we wouldn't even, then we don't even need a media query if we're going to use clamp. Because the whole point of clamp is to not need a media query. And then we would just put max width none. I think this will work just like this. So this keeps it really flexible and actually makes this change. So the thing about clamp that can be a little unsettling if you're new to clamp, and I'm still getting used to it, is that it is really flexible. With a media query, you get to choose what the breakpoint is down to a pixel, and with clamp you lose. It feels like you're losing flexibility, but you're really gaining flexibility because you're sort of releasing the power to the browser, right? And that could take a little getting used to. It works beautifully with typography, so you don't have to write media queries just for typography anymore. And it works really well with width. It's not going to replace media queries, but it is going to reduce the number of media queries that you use, and that's a good thing. It's good to not be so reliant on media queries, and there's nothing wrong with that. It makes using media queries, I think, feel a little more strategic, but it takes a little getting used to. Did I save? Yeah, I saved. It doesn't feel like it's doing what I want it to. Oh, that's why. Um, yeah, so this is the thing that is clearly happening because I have a 2-column layout. So maybe that's not going to work after all. Well, maybe we just need to... Okay, I'm going to go back to using a media query. In this situation, since I have a 2-column layout, I'm going to go back to using a media query. Unless we want to use clamp inside the media query, because I really don't want to do that before. See, I still feel like it's not... doesn't look the way I think it should. It's functioning exactly the way it should. It doesn't quite look the way it should. Do I just need to make this? It's 65. What are these? The width is 31.33. The wrap is 65. See, you can at least see this peeking through here, but I'm not getting that over here. So the smaller my width, the more space there is. Oh, is it because this is space between? Maybe we need this to be like space evenly. Space evenly. And make this just like a smidge wider. It's still not, I kind of am having memories now of this being very fussy when I did this here as well. And I did space around here. 1 second. Okay. There it is. There's that little peeking. Whoops. That's because it's right up next to each other. So if we do flex start, no, that's not really what I want though. I still need it to be evenly. Just space around, flex start, row. I don't think this matters. Oh, that's the wrong class. I think that's what it is. It's just the padding that's pushing it over enough where you can't see it. So I think what I'm going to do, which nobody will ever know except for me and except for you, but I don't think it matters, is I'm going to make this, we're going to make this flex start, which puts everything next to each other, but it pulls it over. And then we're going to change this back to 31. Actually, let's just change it to 30. And then I think here we can just go ahead and give it a gap of 1%, which just gives it a tiny little bit of space. Oh, it gives us so much space on the end though, which I don't like. So annoying. See, it gives us a little chart. What else? Do we have other options? Center. End. Left. It just gives so much space on the end. Maybe. Okay, well, maybe we just need to make this narrower. Yeah, that's what we need to do. Maybe this just needs to be 55 rems. Okay, in hindsight, that makes a little more sense. We can go back to 31. 55. I don't think we need the gap. We could do space around. Yes, that was the key. There we go. It just needed to be narrower. So instead of 65, we're going to do 55. In hindsight, that makes so much sense. See, I get there eventually. I get there eventually. This is what makes this work. This is what makes this work. And I love that we don't have to automatically just stack things, that we can keep things nice and efficient and not make this page too long. But for this to work, you have to tell the user that there's something here, that they can scroll. That's why this is so important. And I do think that I'm going to make this just a smidge wider. Yeah, like that. So related post, related item. So for desktop 31, and then I am going to do a media query for this. And what did I do? 32.333. Flexible, still precise. Beautiful. I love it. I love it. That is what I wanted. That is what I wanted. I feel like these titles could still be a little, I feel like they're still pretty big here. Kind of thinking about just making them 1.1 across the board. I just think that's too big, 1.1. Yeah, I like that. For that width of a container, I like that. That looks good. So we're still flexible here. And then 960, we pop into mobile. And you can very clearly see here that this is scrollable. That works. So here's our desktop view. We go to portrait. You can see here that we're scrolling. I love it. Okay, let's style this title, related posts, and we will be repeating the styles for this title for the comments and for leave a comment. So we have a border. I'm going to say a border after, maybe a border after the author box, and then a border after related posts, and a border after comments. So let's go back to our author box and put in a border. So we need padding and margin for that border to look evenly spaced. So here's our author box. So we'll also do padding bottom, 3 rems, and then we'll do a border bottom 1 pixel, solid. Just gonna do gray. And then we'll do this. We'll basically copy this for the author box. And we will also do this for related posts. So there's a lot more space here because I think this related posts has margin on it. Yeah, it does. So we'll fix that. That's the secondary heading for related posts. So let's put that right here. It comes before the wrap. So it's the secondary heading, related posts. So I want margin top to be 0. And then, so let's just make an educated guess here. So first of all, is it the correct typeface? This is a serif. This is a sans serif. So we need our correct typography. Do I have it pulled up here? Oops. Variables. So this is Gelasio is the font family. So we'll do this. Font family, Gelasio. Font size looks pretty small, so let's do font size. We'll just do 1 rem for now. Text transform, uppercase, letter spacing, 1 pixel, and probably font weight. I'm just going to put 400, which is basically normal. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I wouldn't want this to be any smaller than that. This looks a little smaller in the mock-up, but it needs to be accessible. So, and then it has an underline. So we'll give it an underline, and we'll just say, I'm going to say, I've been using like the text underline and text decoration a lot more. For desktop, it works beautifully. They don't work so well on iOS. So I've been kind of defaulting back to my old border bottom days. So that's what I'm going to use now. Solid black. So it's not because I don't like the text decoration. And we need to fix that here. So let's do display inline block. Display inline block. Why is that so thick? Oh, 1 pixel. And then we need to center that. What's the best way to center that? We could do I'm gonna do margin left 50%, transform, translate X on the X-axis minus 50%, and that should center it for us. There we go. So we use inline block because I don't want the heading to take up the full width of the container, because when I add a border, that will also take up the full width of the container, and I don't want that. I want the border to be as wide as the text, not as wide as the container. So the best way to do that is to make it inline block, which essentially makes it an inline element, but I get the benefit of a block level element by being able to add things like margin and padding. But in order to center an inline block item, If it was display block, I could just do text align center and that would center it, but that's not going to work with inline block. So I push it over margin left 50%, which does this. It puts the beginning of the element in the center. That's not what I want either. So we do transform, translate x. X is the x-axis minus 50%. And this 50% essentially calculates the width of the text and moves it back exactly as much as it needs to be moved back to land in the middle. So it's just a really simple, beautiful way to add an underline to a block level element, well, in this case, inline block level element, and then center it. So we love that. You could also just do a pseudo class after with a border, but you won't get the benefit of getting the exact width of the title. So this way you can do border bottom and get the width of the exact width of the title. And that's what I want. So this looks great. I am super happy with this. Do we need to style this author title? Let's look. I don't remember. No, I don't think so. That looks great. Just like that. And so we'll duplicate. What we should do is maybe, here's our title. So we'll just say, what do we want to say? We can give these a class. No, well, but we've got like 3. So let's call this blog. We'll just call these blog headings. And then here's our comments. This is a blog heading. And then here's our comment form, the blog heading. Now we can do this, and we can do blog. Let's move this up. I'm going to put this right here. And I think that'll, yep, so now we have our beautiful. Love it. Okay, so what's next? This is our comment form. So this is going to be very similar to our author box. The profile photo is a little bit smaller. That's fine. But we also have a date. Let me zoom in here. We also have a date. Let's go back to this. Okay. So we have, for the comment box, the profile photo is a little bit smaller, and we have a date and we have a reply button. So let's see here. That's the form. So here's our profile image, and then we have our comment box, and then we have these 3 items, and then we have this, which will be underneath these 3 items. So what I think we need to do is we need to div it up. So let's do this. We're going to do div comment meta. And you'll see here why this is going to work. So we have a box around what I'm calling the metadata, and then I'm going to put another box around the heading and the date. So we'll do div title date. I don't know. I kind of lose my mind when it comes to thinking of class names. Okay. And then I don't know if it matters if these things are, I'm going to make this a div. I think I would have to declare it as block, so we'll just make it a div. Time is an inline element, so we may have to say display block to that as well. With Flexbox, I mean, Flexbox does a really good job handling inline and block level elements. Redefining whether something is block or inline block, in my opinion, or in my experience, has more to do with needing to apply, margin padding or a border. So other than that, it handles it pretty well. Okay, so first we have so we're in the comments. So this is our parent level class. Let's get down here. So I think we can add container to the wrap. Boy, we're getting a lot of good practice on using our Flexbox. So here are the styles that we did for this. I'm going to borrow these. But we want this to be a little smaller, so I'm just going to eyeball it and say 125. But these styles should work. And this is comments. And then I think we can borrow this comment box content. I think we can borrow this as well. Whoops. And then this is also the comments. And this is comment. Okay, let's see how this looks. Yeah, pretty close. We're getting there. Not quite. So here's our, we have to put, okay, I did 2 wraps. Got it. So here's wrap 1 and here's wrap 2. Gotcha. There we go. See, look at that. Flexbox is amazing. Okay. So we have a nice amount of space there. Yeah, I'm good with that. Little bit smaller than this author profile picture. This could probably be interesting. Maybe, maybe, yeah, that is a little bit smaller. I didn't even notice that. Okay, so let's do a little bit of a calculation here. And then we wouldn't have to use the, well, I think it's still okay to use the padding. Let's do a little bit of a calculation here. So let's go back up to our image. So here we have, we're saying we want the image to be 175 pixels. So let's calculate this item right here. So let's do calc. I think I can do calculate in here. We'll do 100% minus 175 pixels. And then that will be a much more precise. Yeah. I feel like there's still something here not quite right. Yeah, because it's not 175, it's 170. Yeah, interesting. Didn't notice that. I'm also not seeing my calculation. What's going on here? Image, author box. Oh, did I put it in the wrong spot. I put it in the wrong spot. It goes here. There we go. Now they are snug right up next to each other. 175 by 175. And you can see our calculation there. Love it. Love it, love it. Okay, let's do the same thing down here. Just gives us a little more precision. So we know that we want this to be 125 pixels. And then I'm going to take this out because I don't know what I want that to look like on mobile. I think with an image this small, we don't have to stack things for mobile, for a comment, not for a comment. So let's, so for this, we'll do calc 100% minus 125 pixels. And then we let the padding handle that spacing. Yes. We love this. So there we go. Nice and snug, 125 by 125. There's our calculation, and then we let the padding handle the space. And then I think that we don't have to do anything for mobile for a comment. Oh, but I have to fix that. It is wrapping. So for comments, so we'll say wrap comments, and then so this is row wrap. See, that's why flex, we'll just change flex wrap to no wrap. But it shouldn't wrap. It shouldn't wrap if it's a percentage, right? Why does it wrap if one container is a percentage? Why does it wrap? Hello, Artie and Trees. Hello, how are you? Happy to have you. Thank you for joining. Oh, it's because we need to put max width right here. But still, this is flexible. So, oh, it's because the width is 100% for the right here. That's why. Yeah, we shouldn't need to change the flex direction if we've got one container that is flexible as a percentage. There we go. But we could just change the amount of padding there, and we could take this down a little bit. We could take it down to 100 pixels. I'd rather do that. So our flex item now can be 100 pixels. And then this can be we'll take this down to 1 rem. There we go. And then we need to put a border in between our comments. So each comment wrap has a border. So we'll say margin bottom 1 rem. Padding comes first. Padding bottom 1 rem, and then border bottom 1 pixel, solid gray. And I bet this paragraph tag has margin. We'll get rid of that too. So I'm going to do that right in the wrap. Oh. There we go. I think for desktop it needs a little more room. And I don't want there to be a border after the last comment because the entire section is going to have a comment. So we'll do last of type. Border bottom, none. And then make this a little bigger. Yeah. And then the entire section so we'll do comments, blog, padding bottom, 3 rems, margin bottom, 3 rems, border bottom, 1 pixel, solid gray. Oh, and that's because, so we also, in addition to taking that border off, we have to take off the wrap specific. So we'll say 0 because we want this to be on the entire section, not just that wrap. Beautiful. Look at this. Wow, this really came together very nicely today. We fixed all of our bugs, all of our known bugs, right? And we got some really, really nice styling done. Okay, let's finish styling our meta. I'm confused about making a responsive website now. Yeah, it can be a little bit to wrap your head around. Tell me what you're confused about and I'll see if I can, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Let me know if you have a specific question or a specific concept or theory that you're wondering about. Pop it in the chat. I'm happy to see if I can answer any questions. Okay, so now we just need to style our name, date, and reply. So let's refresh our memories on what this looks like. So the date and the reply look nearly the same, except the reply is uppercase. And the date and the reply are also sans serif, but the name is serif. So this would be the tertiary heading inside comments. And it's really a div. It's not an H3, but I gave it the class of tertiary heading for the sake of styling. And let's borrow some styles. Where's our fonts? Here's Gelasio. And Maria is asking, which template is best for a medical website? I guess I wouldn't really know what template specifically is good for a medical website. If I was building a medical website, I would have to look at their content and images and I would either come up with a layout based on the content and images, or I would go to a place like ThemeForest and Envato, and you could maybe search for templates for a medical website. If you aren't confident in your design skills and you need something that is really got a design already implemented, that would be my best advice for that. But I couldn't tell you specifically a template that is good for a medical website, unfortunately. So here is, I'm going to take this off because it doesn't matter. So this is our serif font face. Let's see how this looks. Yep, I like that. Let's see here. Let's take this off. I don't think we need the letter spacing either. And it should be a little bit bold. So let's add a font weight. I don't remember what weights I've loaded. 600, 700. Yeah, that looks good. And then these are, I think our comment date looks fine. And then our reply link, I think I switched, we need to make sure that these are all divs. So we'll do reply link, comments, and this is going to be text transform uppercase, and then I usually do, for uppercase, I do letter spacing 1 pixel. Not always, but most of the time. Okay, now let's flexbox these containers. And this is, I'm not going to use my little framework here. I'm just going to write it. So, comment box content. Oh, I did not do this for all of them. Okay. Let's see here. Here's our related posts. Here's our here's our wrap. Yeah. Comment meta. Okay. We need to get this in for all of them. Two. I guess we just have 2. Okay. Comment, meta, comments, display flex, flex flow, row, no wrap, justify content, space between. So I want the first item and the last item, and technically there are only 2 children inside comment meta. There's title, date, and reply link. So these are the first 2 things. And then align items. We'll do flex start. That's probably fine. We can adjust that if we have to. So that should, there we go. So that takes the name and the date and the reply and pushes this all the way to the end. Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. Now, the title date, we're also going to flexbox. Also, we could just do tertiary heading and comment date display inline block. We could absolutely do that, but we're on a roll with flexbox. Okay, let's just do this quick. Title, date. We'll do display flex, flex flow, row, no wrap, justify content, and here's where I'm going to do flex start. And then again, align items. We'll also do flex start. There we go. Nice. And then maybe for this, I struggle with gap. I really struggle with gap, but I think we have room to put in a gap there. There we go. Now, how does our, okay, so maybe we need a little bit bigger of a gap. And clearly this text is a lot lighter. I don't think that's accessible. So I'm not going to do I'm not going to change the color of the text. This design is like 9 years old, and I don't think accessibility was at the forefront. You know what we could do? We could just put everything in the same container for Flexbox and just evenly space these, but we already did this. Let's try 1.5. And then let's add, we need to put some space after this header. Did we put any space up here? Here's our related posts. Oh, these have a lot of, why do these have so much space? Oh, because of the margin. Okay. So already in trees, I use Flexbox to create a layout, and I use media queries for responsiveness, but I'm still confused to apply media queries with max width or min width. This is such a good question. I get confused too. I forget because I use min widths. I work on lots of different projects. I have freelancing projects, I have my own projects, and even within my own projects. And if you were watching earlier, I got confused. So max width is if you use a media query with max width, you are saying change my layout when it's so we'll use 960. Change the layout when it's 960 or less. If you use min width, you are saying change the layout when it's 960 or more. It's kind of the opposite of what you would think it would be. So for this layout, everything that we're doing, let's find a media query. Here are my media queries right here. Stop. Okay. So here's the comment box content. Here's a media query, a max width of 600 pixels. I want these styles to be at 600 pixels or less. So at 600 pixels, do these styles, and it's everything less. So this is the maximum size. Don't do these styles if it's any greater than 600. So it's the maximum width, everything below this. So you kind of have to think of it, it feels like a little bit of opposite land is what it feels like. So let's demonstrate this. So here's our comments. Better one would be this right here. So here we are. You can see up here, hopefully you can see up here in the corner, the number is changing. Now we're at 944. Now we're in the 800s. Now we're in the 700s. Now we're in the 600s. So this media query is maximum width of 600. We're in the 600s. Now we're below 600, so that's when this changes. So these styles are a maximum width of 600 pixels. That is the biggest. After that size, you have to change it. If it was min width 600 pixels, then it would be the opposite. Does that make sense? Here's the thing. You really just need to do it. So I don't know what you're working on right now. Ardian Trees, you've been here for a few live streams. The best way for you to really wrap your head around it is to just do it. I just need you every day or at least several days a week building layouts and writing media queries. It will never make sense. It will never make sense until you actually do it. You just need to do it. Once your layouts start to work the way you want them to, you're going to naturally remember which one is which. I mean, and it's honestly, even if you don't, it's okay. I was doing it earlier. I was getting confused on my min width and my max width. And how I knew that I got it wrong is that my layout didn't work. So I just switched it to the other one and it worked and it was fine. So that's going to be the best way to remember it. Just do it. Just start building stuff, popping in numbers, checking to see what works. And that's how it's going to stick. That is how it's going to stick. So let's clean up some of our margins here. And we have a lot of margins. Again, this is a holdout from our homepage. So let's go to our author box. We're so close, you guys. We're so close. We're doing amazing. We got this. So here's our image. Interesting, because I have margin 0 here. Oh, this is the related posts. That's why. I don't have any. All right. So this is the image. Related posts. And we're just going to say margin 0. Yeah, so that tightens up that space there, just like that. So that's good. That's good. That means that we can put space just on this header, and that will apply to all of our headers equally. I think it's up here. Honestly, at this point, we should just do one with shorthand. So top 0, right 0, bottom, I'm going to say 2 rems, and then left 50%. Let's add a little more. There we go. There, that looks great. It looks so good. So I'm not going to do anything else to the comments. I'm done. I'm good. This reply probably needs to be a link though, doesn't it? Yeah. Okay. We can just make that reply a link. That's fine. So let's make sure we get both of them here. Okay. Yeah, perfect. We don't even have to do anything. Beautiful. We don't even have to do anything. Okay. Comment form. Wow, look at us. We're doing it. We are doing it. Okay, so here's our comment form. All I really want to do here, so our form styles, everything is defined. We have all of our form styles. Name, email. Let's put name and email. We can go ahead and put those on the same line. Make our text area a little bigger. And then we'll maybe put a couple little transitions on these so they load nice and pretty on page scroll. So here's our comment form. And I think all we have to do interesting that this is a block level element and it's not taking up the full width. Why? Okay. Okay, that's fine. So comment form. Whoops. go ahead and say width 100%. And then we're going to have to put these inside their own containers. So we'll just do div, I think it's just half width. Let's see here. So thanks for giving me a real example. I am taking a training to create a web portfolio with only HTML and CSS. When I see the design, the result is not suitable because of responsiveness issues. Well, so here's the good news, is that you do have a design built for desktop. So that's great. What I really need you to do is just start adding media queries. It's the only way you're going to really wrap your head around it, is actually typing in media queries using min or max. There's no right way and there's no wrong way. You just have to start typing them in, adding values, making changes, and tinkering with it in the browser to get it to work. I promise you, the more you work on it, it will start to make sense to you. So I love your questions. You're asking all the right questions. Now you just need to get out there and do it. And once you start typing in values, it's going to make sense. I promise. So I'm using the values that we wrote to see if this will automatically line this up the way I want to. Almost. Not quite. Oh, interesting. There's enough room. Oh, probably because I didn't actually put Flexbox on the form. So, well, we can probably do, just do container. There we go. Now let's make our text area a little bit bigger and then add some responsive styles, although that might already be responsive. Yep, it is. Good. So let's just make our text area a little bigger now. So right now the height is 70. This is not a class, this is an element. There we go. And I'm not going to put the submit button inside. We could center it though. So this has margin. I think we can just do yeah, I didn't think so. So this is a block level element. It doesn't really have a width. It's a width of auto. Yeah, we could just do that. Oh, I don't like the way that looks centered. So I'm just going to leave it. Look at that. I love it. I love it. Yes, me too. Thank you. Love the questions. Happy to answer any questions. Wow, I can hardly believe that we actually finished this page. So, and I don't think there's anything else that we need to do here. I don't think there's anything else that we need to do here. Do we need to add any? Yes, let's add some margin to the bottom of the comment form. And we can add a border too for mobile. I don't think we even need to add a border because all of these have like a nice little border. I don't know how well you guys can see it. Yeah, you can see it there. So I'm not going to add a border to the bottom. So here's how we look on mobile. Look at our beautiful table. Here's our block quote. Here's our pre-formatted text. Here's our definition list. These are all the form elements that we styled last weekend. Here's our author box, our post meta, our related posts. I love how this looks. I love it. Ooh, okay, let's fix this for mobile. So that's our comment meta, what I would call metadata. Here's our leave a comment form. And then we have our sidebar and our footer. All right, let's take care of this. So here's the comment meta. Oh, and I forgot to so for this, let's do at media, max width, 960 pixels, and I'm going to say flex, direction, column. And I'm going to do the same thing. Well, let's just see how this looks first. So that puts the reply. So yeah, we really need to do this for both. There we go. Now we need to take that gap out. I'm going to take out the gap. I guess we could just do, technically the gap changes orientation, so we could maybe put it here too. Oh, too much. You could use gap, you could use margin. Oh, I think that's even too much. Yeah, that looks a little better. And you know, it's an open source project, so I don't, I mean, you have to have a lot of traffic on a blog to get comments. I don't spend a lot of time on styling comments unless I happen to be working on a site that I know gets a lot of comments. I might put a bit more thought into it. This is as far as I'm going to go because of my experience. I just don't work on a lot of sites that get a ton of comments. But I think this looks fine. Of course, if you were working on a site that had a ton of comments, you may want to have the image and the metadata in their own container and then have this below. There's lots of ways that you could do this. I'm gonna stick with this. Look at that. I mean, what else do we need to do to this page? Let's get ready for tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to basically build the exact same page. We're going to build the exact same page, except instead of an image, this is going to be a slider. So this is what we just did. And we're going to change it, and we're going to build a vanilla JavaScript slider. So let's get this, let's get that ready for tomorrow. And let's commit our work. Styles for the blog page, author, and comments. Okay. I'm gonna wait until tomorrow. I don't have my phone hooked up to do the responsive styles. So we'll do that tomorrow. I'll make sure that I have that hooked up before I start tomorrow. And we will double check all of our styles on iOS. There's almost always at least one or two things on iOS that don't look quite right. We can go ahead and check this on Firefox though. Let's do that now. So far, so good. Yeah, this looks good. Table looks good. Pre-formatted text looks good. our definition list, all of our form styles, our comment, our author, our related posts, comment, or our author box, related post, comment section. We have our horizontal scroll for the related posts. So one thing I didn't notice until just now is that the related post title is also scrolling. I feel like that should not scroll because I feel like that is outside. That's outside of the wrap. But isn't it? That's outside the wrap. With is it doing it here? Yeah, it is. Interesting. So here's the related posts. Here's the H2. Here's the wrap container. Well, it scrolls, this container scrolls within this container. Yeah. I hadn't gotten that far styling this yet. You can see here my title is up here, and oh, but look at that, does scroll. Literally did not notice that. Hadn't even gotten to it yet. That's interesting. Because this container is holding this open, and the overflow is what makes the scroll happen. So I think what we should do then is put a container around the wrap. And then the overflow is on that. Or the overflow could be the wrap, and then we have to add another div. It kind of depends on how you feel about your title scrolling. I don't like it. I don't like the title scrolling. I don't want the title to scroll. So let's just do it. Let's just do it. We're going to do it now. Let's fix it. So here's our related posts. So all I'm going to do is add another container around here. So we'll say div class. I'm going to call this the post. This is going to be the post scroll container. Because why not? The post scroll container. And then I think all I have to do is take the overflow off of related posts and put it here. So post scroll container, and this is related posts. Did it work? Not really. think it's because well, it moved our heading to the literal middle. And the overflow is happening now like on the body, not the container. So this whole thing is scrolling, like the whole body is scrolling. Probably, oh, is it because I mean, did related posts didn't have anything else other than padding and margin? This didn't change. So why would it matter? Why would that matter? It should be scrolling. The wrap should be scrolling inside. Okay, I'm gonna have to think about this. I'm gonna have to think about this for a second. I don't know if this is the best place to just sit here in quiet contemplation. I'm not sure why this matters. Why I can't change this to overflow. Because none of this changes. This is all still the same. It doesn't make sense to me. It's already a block level element. Well, and I can already tell you I don't like the fact that the title is then being moved to the literal center of the element. So, okay, I'm not spending any more time on this. I'm not even gonna think about it. But I think it's pretty interesting, and I'm not really sure why that matters. I don't know why I can't change the overflow from this to this, and the entire body is scrolling. That doesn't make sense to me. So, I don't know. I'm not really sure. So I feel like I get a trade-off here, and I don't love either of them, so I'm gonna pick the one that I hate the least, which is that the title is centered regardless of the size of the window, even though when I scroll, my title scrolls out of view. I really don't want it to, though. Do I have to change? Maybe I can just change the header to be position absolute. Maybe we can just change the position to like lock it in. Oh yeah, you're there. See, I completely took it out of the flow now. And it's also using the exact width of the container. So, well, this is going to need further thought, but I guess I'm choosing not to worry about this today. It does need a little additional, I would like to know why that's not working. So, but we're not going to worry about it today. That's frustrating, but I don't know if it's really the end of the world. I still think we did a great job. I think we did a great job on this today. I'm really pleased. Make this a little bigger. I like it. So let's get ready for tomorrow. So here's the blog slider. I'm just going to make an exact copy of this page. And this is blog slider. So this is ready to go for tomorrow. Nice. All right. Well, I'm glad I got an early start today to work on this and to just, I mean, it didn't really take that long. It didn't take that long. it seems like it takes a long time because I only stream for a couple hours on Saturdays and Sundays, so it can seem like it's just taking a really long time to get some of these projects done. But I bet if we totaled up all the time, it's a reasonable amount of time. It takes as long as it takes. So here's our home, here's our masonry, here's our blog slider, and then here's our blog. So tomorrow we start to work on the slider. I'll even update the class here, blog slider. And we'll also do, we will check on mobile. We will check iOS to see how our styles look. And Chloe Z, hi, how are you? I'm doing well, Chloe. Thanks for joining us. If you wouldn't mind, please like the video. If you're new here, I would love to have you as a subscriber. I've been streaming for almost a year. It'll be a year in August, and I know that the real views and subscribers come from like the edited, the recorded and edited videos, and I just haven't done a ton of those. I am planning to do more of those. So yeah, and I don't ask often enough. So if you don't mind, I would love it if you would like and subscribe. If you think this is good content, I'd love to have you here. I thank everybody for joining me today. I had a lot of fun today. I'm so glad that I got this page done. And I'm super excited to do a slider tomorrow. We're going to do a vanilla JavaScript slider. I have a rough idea in my head how to do this. I would say of everything, vanilla JavaScript is the thing that I am the least comfortable with. HTML, CSS, I could pretty much do in my sleep at this point. Vanilla JavaScript, I struggle a little bit more with, but I'm excited to do a slider. I feel like that's a straightforward thing. So I'm looking forward to working on that tomorrow. And yeah, I'll be back tomorrow morning. I think I'm going to schedule the stream again tomorrow at 10:30, which is when we started today, and still set aside a good chunk of time, 3 to 4 hours to work on that. That seems like a very reasonable amount of time to get it done. So yeah, I'll be back tomorrow. Let me see here. We have a couple comments. What are you doing this? So Chloe, if you're new here, these are mock-ups that I've been working on for the last couple of years. These are just Photoshop mock-ups that I have in my collection that we're building out just so we can practice HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. That's what we do. Go Elmo Go is saying, keep up the good work. Hope the rest of your day goes well. Thanks again. Thank you. I appreciate that. Chloe is subscribed. Thank you, Chloe, from South Africa. Love to have different people from different parts of the world here. Ardian is saying, good to see you again. And thank you. I appreciate you guys. Love having you here. Yes, everybody, have a great rest of your day wherever you are. And I will see you tomorrow morning. Hopefully you can join us. Bye-bye.